I grew up in China till I was 4. I was in a foster home. And when I was 4, I was adopted by my loving Dutch family. I was very ashamed of myself when I was a child, when I looked at myself. But now I think I'm still struggling with something. So I think I'm still not the optimal, like the ideal version of myself, but we're slowly getting there. People would assume I would have difficulties with writing, holding stuff, actually very basic day-to-day stuff. Maybe playing video games, using my phone, brushing my teeth. It's actually the craziest assumptions come across social media. You just have to learn to use your hands. So the way I approach the tasks which people think are challenging for me is the same way as people with thumbs do it. You just learn to use it. You just learn to do the things. You just do it your own way. Because if you're like born with thumbs in the beginning, you can also not do everything. And I do it just the way I learned it when I was younger. And then I just did it my way and I just don't do it any other way anymore. I can do everything I can on a daily basis. I do not struggle with anything. So why would I then readapt myself to something completely new? I spent 26 years or 25 years to learn to live without thumbs. I'm not going for the next 25 with. Of course, maybe that was a little exaggerated because maybe it's gonna not take 25 years, but I'm not going maybe for the first 1 or 2 years to learn again, to readapt myself, everything. And people say it goes faster than you think, but you don't know that. And like I said, I am totally fine with the way I can do things, and I'm not struggling with anything. So I still stand behind that point, and I can understand that people might think it's offensive for the people who have thumbs. They're like, oh, so he thinks maybe he's better than us because he has no thumbs, but he can still do anything. The silver lining in this post was that I, even though I have no thumbs, that you can still, if you miss some parts or whatever, that you still can find a way to do anything anybody else can. The thing is, when you're young and you grow up in the Netherlands, you look different, you have no thumbs, so you get bullied a lot because of that by other like kids or maybe even teenagers, because they don't understand you're different. They think you look different, so you're not one of us, you're different, you're weird in that kind of aspect. And I do not blame the kids who bullied me. They are also young. They don't understand. They have to learn. Now I'm a little bit older. I understand why they did it, and I can understand where it's coming from. In that time of my life, I was struggling the most. The way I would like to be treated is basically the same as everyone else. I totally understand everyone who I come across who have questions about it. And I preach that to everyone. If you have genuine and honest and respectful intentions, then I'm willing to tell and to talk about it, almost about everything. But what I don't like, and I also dislike a little bit of a complicated matter, I don't really like when people stare at it, but I can understand that people may be afraid of asking because they're like, oh, maybe he's not comfortable about it. But I get a little bit awkward when people because sometimes I see them staring, and I sometimes been around long enough to know that when people are staring, and then it makes me awkward. So I rather have people come up to me with these respectful intentions and say, hey, oh, you had no thumbs, and then we can have like this conversation over with in a way. Then I can say, yes, but I can do everything, so don't worry, and I'll let you know if I struggle with something. The ideal situation would be for me is if they notice and they ask me a genuine question about it, then I can get it over with. And then most of the time, because with the people I have this interaction, after 2-3 minutes, it's already like, it's the whole like wave is over, it's not like that big of a deal. I think it should start at a very young age. I think for society to be included about this kind of matter, because people still struggle, it will take years probably, but it's still a very not much discussed topic, I would think, because you should teach them from a very young age that being different, looking different doesn't make you different. Everybody has, because when I was younger, like I said, I felt like I was never really part of something. And I think just because you look different or act different because you're from a different country, you should go through the same. So I think people should teach them from very young, that it's very normal to look and to be different as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. And I'm purely talking about physical and physical appearances. So I think, we should teach about it when they're young, and also maybe also like when they're a little like after elementary school. But I think it should be very well discussed topic. I want people to understand from my awareness that, yeah, that being born different and looking different doesn't make you different. Nobody should go through a lonely or hard childhood just because of their physical appearance. I put my content in a way, I mean, at least I'm trying to put it in a way that it's in an educational, but also in an entertaining kind of way. That's the whole idea of my page, to put myself as an example that even if it looks like the chips are down or that there's no light at the end of the tunnel or anything, that you can still make the best of it and to make the most of it. Because I know the world can be a place, and I just try to make with my content in an entertaining and educational way to make it a less place, and to just show to people that even where I come from, that you still can turn it around if you're willing to put your mind to it. And I put it in a lighthearted, humoristic way, so people can also like have a laugh about it. And that's the beauty of it, because once you learn to live with it, it starts to look normal. And for me, like, I've been through this my whole life. I go to places where people don't even know. I worked, for example, in a restaurant for a year, and people after a year still didn't notice I had no thumbs, because I adapted myself in a way that it just looks so natural and normal. And you should be able to have a good laugh about yourself, even if it's a little hard in the beginning. Social media in general, the online world, we all know it unites people, but it also divides people. Of course, I read almost every comment, every single one of them, because I create content based on the comments, because people are asking for it, and then I do it for the people who comment on my posts. Some are very beautiful, and the negatives one, honestly, I just read them, maybe I have a laugh about it, I see it, and then I try to educate them. If people come with a negative energy against you, some people, I'm not going to speak for everyone, some people take that energy and want to fire it right back at the person. I got angry a lot when I was younger, and I think I've been angry enough when I was younger. So nowadays, the negative comments, sometimes I laugh about them and I respond in a way, like in a humoristic way or something, like when people say, show me your thumbs, and then I say to them, for example, okay, come for a thumb more, take their negative comments and I try to turn it into a humoristic comedy. So I don't bother about the negative. Sometimes I just like scroll over them, read them for 1 second, go to the next, and then 5 minutes later I already forgot what they said. It really doesn't stick with me or bothers me. And people can say anything towards me what they want, because if they feel like saying that, whatever they say, I mean, you do you, and that's all to it. Sometimes I tell, or I like educated in, I tell them, like, I try to make them aware of their behavior, that they may be better themselves and think before they, because if they do it to me, maybe they also do it to other profiles, on TikTok, because there are also other people on TikTok or social media who maybe have a disability or physical differences, and maybe they also do it to them. But if I can tell them, or maybe make in a humoristic way, that it's, maybe they think twice the next time they post or they comment about somebody else of insulting them. Yeah, bullies are not born. I mean, everybody comes with a story. Everyone has a backpack. Everybody comes from a childhood or experience where they turn out to be who they are. And like, I'm not gonna when you're at some point when you're older and you're aware of your actions, then you should take responsibility for your actions. But especially when you're a little bit younger or anything, people who are like bullied, like I hear a lot of people who like bullied in high school, or these people also come from somewhere. I'm not saying that their behavior is justified, but they maybe at home they struggle, maybe they have no food at the table. Just an example, they come from somewhere. Everybody comes from somewhere, and of course we cannot take everybody in count, but we should consider that people are not born evil. It's mostly a personal journey. It's like, because I started this because I used to be very insecure, used to be ashamed of my physical appearance, so I tried to make that my strength. And since this 5 months of or 3 months of social media journey, I can say I'm positively surprised, actually, because before I knew also that the internet can be a dark place, can be a rough place, but I received only in general actually positive comments. I grew my channel to 26,000 followers in 3 months. I don't know, I don't really have references, but I think that's quite okay if I see how other people do. And I think it's a very impactful journey for me, because day by day or post by post I become a little more confident, and I am willing to show it more to the outside world. And I think even though it's a personal journey, everybody who follows me or everybody who comments, it's also for the people who are going through the same. It's not just for me. I mean, it's also for the people who watch my videos and who feel like insecure or feel like they're struggling, because everybody has their problems. Everybody at some point in their life has difficulties, and I want to display that I'm no different than anybody else, but I try to make the most of it, and everybody should do that. And it's a work in progress, because it's not going to be the next day you're going to be it's not going to be sunshines and rainbows. It will be a hard, long, bumpy road, bumpy journey, but it's one I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's going to be a very learning-full journey, but also it can be beautiful. And I want to show that, I want to display that as best as possible. The only thing what I want to elaborate on is how people should cope with with these circumstances they're going through. Because when I was younger, I was very insecure, and I went through a lot. I was born with no thumbs. I was Chinese, and I was in the Netherlands. And I was 4 when I arrived in the Netherlands. I think the main subject I want to elaborate on is that don't take people for who you see them take them for the way you see them for the first time. Just like to try to understand how people are a little bit when you're interacting with them. Try to show a little compassion, or try to see where they come from and try to understand them. And then when you start to understand someone, you also see it from a different, like put yourself in the shoes of the other person for, I don't know, and then you become so much more open to also connections, because what today's world is very stopping us from connecting with other people is because we don't take the time to understand other people anymore.